What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense. I'm sorry I'm so late. I was literally just having one more conversation with a family member about what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say as it pertains to my own family. But this conversation is so layered, it will more than likely be additional conversations moving forward. I have had so many conversations with people. I have had watched dissertations. I've watched people that I love debate and fight with the comment sections. It's a real conversation. Like the video as the intro plays. We got a lot to get into, and I highly doubt we're finishing it tonight, but I'm kind of fired up because I was just talking about my grandma with a family member, and that's never good as it pertains to hood niggas. So buckle up.
Make it make sense.
I was listening to Make It Make Sense. Shout out to Make It Make Sense.
Make it make sense. Make sense.
Big moves. Surfer. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things in your dream. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things in your dream. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense.
What are you doing?
It is crazy.
What?
Your shit is hanging out the chair. Like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's start here. We cannot have a conversation about Carisha Spinnet without first acknowledging that even this conversation that we are about to have is more than likely rooted in misogyny. We can almost talk in absolutes as it pertains to that. The fact that, Rick Ross wasn't even really viable after we found out he wasn't in prison. He was the prison guard. Hold on one second. So we got people coming in and out. He wasn't in prison. He was actually the prison guard. When we think about all the people who have murdered each other and then put it in rap lyrics and that gave them street cred. When we think about the fact that we were talking about free Meek, free JT, free and we're gonna get a little bit into Meek a little bit later because that's actually kind of crazy once I spent the time to research everything involving his case. But it's always free somebody. It's always a conversation surrounding somebody who has done something, and we as a people want to rally around it, no matter what the odds, no matter what the cause is. That's what we do, and we're not having these conversations. When I went on one of my friends' panels like yesterday, and I was kind of saying, well, this is where I want to go. How do you think this is going to be interpreted? I was met with a lot of pushback. My argument remains the same. Do not boycott the song. Having autonomy over your own body, having the ability to control what you listen to or you consume as an adult is your right. I'm not calling for censorship. What I am saying is we can look at measurable things, measurable data points that indicate that this song is being how do I want to put that? This song is being marketed in the most simplest form to children. So I want to show you where this started for me. It was a video that I saw. It didn't get a lot of views. It was kids at the sugar factory, and their mom had been given an ox card. Excuse me. No, that wasn't instant messenger. That was a like when you have somebody opens the door from an alarm. Anyway, This video shows a mom who was given an ox card at the sugar factory. So I can't really let you guys hear it, but they're playing Spin That. This was the first time I saw kids doing it in a space where a parent played the unedited version. Kids sang along. There was other kids. And initially in the comments, people were eating up the other family saying, mind your business. It was like one of those things, you know, Black people are never truly alone. But I was like, this really can't be right? Because we can't be defending somebody else's right to expose somebody else's child to that type of music. I want to be very, very clear. I am a socially conscious, sex positive person. I'm extremely liberal in my thought processes. I'm never going to tell an adult what to do. I would never do that. But there's a conversation to be had about influence in kids. And if we can't, at the very least, open the floor to how kids in present day are influenced by social media, by songs, by other kids, then you're being purposefully obtuse. This is the sugar factory. These kids are like 7, 8 years old. And it was example after example. These kids were headed to Walt Disney. So you kind of get the drip. This was the dirty version. They knew every part of the song. So then you have conversations on, well, what does that really mean? My parents let me listen to it. My parents did this. I was exposed to that. I was exposed to this. I didn't do this. I would never. A song doesn't make me do anything. And I'm like, what does that really mean? In reality, people are influenced every day. In reality, a song can elicit emotions. A song can elicit anger. I can't tell you how many fights I saw when Nuck If You Buck got played in the club. Why this song? Is it solely because Young Miami is a Black woman and this type of conversation is getting so much attention because it's a Black woman? That's a good reason. We can live in that moment. Why is it that it's okay for a dude to have as much sex, to have too much sex, till their dick falls off? Why is that okay? But Megan Thee Stallion has memes of all the dudes in the industry she's dated. We can have the conversation. Misogyny exists, but just because misogyny exists and we did not start the conversation we did not start this specific conversation with Young Miami, does not mean that the conversation does not need to get had. Let me see. Thank you so much. And sorry, I don't usually go on this late, but it was important for me to get some of this like off my chest. Thank you so much, Hare. She says evening memes in chat. So let's talk about childhood. We'll cut to, I'm going to show you why I'm saying that Young Miami actually promoted it to kids. Young Miami was not necessarily sure about where her career was going to go. She felt like she'd been written off. People were telling her to get her CDL. And Raw, Real Ass Whore, the title of her and JT's last project was critically panned. Nobody wanted to listen to it. It got to a point where people said enough is enough. You have a album called Real Ass Whore. Nobody bought it. And although Carisha and JT don't seem like the most cerebral person, Carisha is working underneath Diddy, and JT's boyfriend is a crossover success. She knew what she was doing when she marketed Real Ass Whore. So that's why I don't have any problem with that being in the title. That's what she says she is.
Real Ass Whore tweet. I was like, oh shit.
See, that was good marketing.
Yeah, that was good marketing. I said it.
That was good. It got a lot of people talking.
And I didn't.
So what does it mean to be a kid who has access to adult things? A, we can't sit around and say that all of our parents are bad, because most of the people I know in my generation had access to adult videos, had access to the internet, had access to these songs. I did not know what Little Kim was talking about when she said she was going to be sucking blood out of Too Short. But you know what? I got the unedited version. People a little bit older were getting OPP. I do think that there has been a progression that we can follow in terms of rap music. I made the mistake yesterday of using female rappers in the timeline, but we can go through male rappers as well, because all of it matters. But in terms of like female rap, it transitioned from MC Light, Queen Latifah, who were more like, I would say, women empowerment kind of themes, like taking back themes like bitch, hoe, whatever, recreating it. Then you had TLC who came, and TLC was important at a time because they convinced young people, men and women, to use condoms. These were the people who came in and said, I'm in charge of my own body. I make my own decisions. I'm a sexual being. That aided in, I would say, probably like a new age of the sexual revolution, because these people were just coming out of the 80s where AIDS had ravaged everything. Then you got my favorite rapper, my favorite female rapper, Foxy Brown. Foxy Brown, Little Kim came into the mix. Now, I didn't know that. I mean, at the time, I was super young. I didn't really realize what it meant for Foxy to be her age and having a sexually suggestive rap with Jay-Z. We'll get into Jay-Z and Beyonce and how he's using her as a smokescreen on another video. Yeah, Salt and Pepper was earlier as well. They also were in, they had autonomy over their own bodies as well. Even though Little Kim and Foxy were sexually suggestive, they weren't actually talking about selling their bodies. They were raunchy, but it was in the vein of, I'm sexually explicit. Then you get Trina. And Trina and Yuck Mouth ass Trick Daddy changed the game. Trina Rockstar came in and basically said, yes, I am going to sell pussy. That is what I do. Look at my ass, look at my contacts. That was the direction that Trina took. And we loved her, but she was still on the fringe. We can get into Kaya, My Neck and My Back, and Eve being, a former sex worker who turned into a, crossover act. Missy was sexual, but again, it wasn't selling. She was definitely a crossover act. Eve definitely used her sex work past as a cautionary tale. So I think that lends itself to people not only connecting to her through the struggle, but also her acknowledging that that may not be the way that you want to go. Because the conversation is layered, the conversation is nuanced, the conversation is about what adults consume and how kids are oftentimes, they're marketed to kids. So then we move on to Nicki Minaj, and Nicki Minaj is very sexual in her raps. She's not talking about selling it. Sometimes she talks about drug usage, but by the time, I would say, Cardi B came around, what a lot of people don't remember about Cardi B is before she was on Love and Hip Hop, Cardi B was the stripper with the, crunchy teeth who was coming online and talking about the pitfalls of what she was doing. Stripping, sex work, scamming niggas. That's how people actually were introduced to Cardi B, as kind of like a funny face, snaggletooth stripper who's coming in at 3 a.m. and going live and talking about all of the things that you should not be doing, that she does do and is not going to stop doing. Then she gets on Love and Hip Hop, and the first thing she does when she starts putting out music is promoting sex for money. F them, then I get some money. I do categorize stripping, OnlyFans content creators, people who make adult movies. I consider that part of sex work. Sex work doesn't always have to mean actually like penetration, but I qualify it as sex work. Okay. So, but yes, funny, likable. As an adult, you can consume it, right? I get it. What has happened now, and I think what a lot of people don't really tap into is with the advent of the internet and then the advent of social media, parents have never lived in a world like the parents from 2020. I'm sorry, from the year 2000 to 2026. There is no rule book for what has happened. And I think we just continuously keep forgetting that. I can't stress enough. Carisha is not the problem. The system is the problem. This conversation, Carisha was the catalyst for. But anybody who says that we should be looking at men and how we, interact with murderers, how we validate murderers, you're right. Nobody should be telling you you're wrong. However, why don't you talk about it? I actually got personally offended when I was on Really B's channel. Happy belated birthday, Really B, because somebody kept saying it's misogynistic. He's misogynistic. And I'm like, wait, I'm misogynistic? I talk about everybody, especially when it relates to protecting children. I was extremely all up Drake's ass and reported on Drake and the dangerous gambling that he is promoting to children. There is a huge RICO case involving Drake and how he promotes to children. And I'm like, if you can see in a measurable way that Drake's influence on kids is lawsuit worthy, then why can't we just have a conversation about some kids not having the, parental support or, moral compass or moral fortitude not to do something because they've heard somebody else do it. Everybody always wants to talk about how smart they are. And I'm like, well, so we all must be virgins, never tried drugs, never done anything, remotely risque. The people that I have been seeing in the comments over and over again have basically said they were hoed out from a child and they never did anything. That's not realistic. Great that you have reached mental fortitude where you would not be the person to try drugs. But I'm sitting here looking at the numbers. Crack wasn't a pandemic because everybody had the mental stability, mental fortitude not to do something that they were exposed to. I'm like baffled that this is the catalyst for the conversation. Carisha is not the problem. Carisha is like one spoke in a bicycle wheel. She's not the problem. I'm not even saying cancel Carisha. I'm not saying boycott the song. Adults are gonna do what adults want to do. The song is catchy. Let's get into Carisha and how Carisha feels about how she markets. I've been showing you guys a photo. We can go a little bit more in depth about stuff that I've said on here. Drake specifically with how he markets gambling to children. We can get into Nicki Minaj being a person who influences her fan base to, let me take this off, who influences her fan base to vote even though she can't vote. No right or wrong, you can be Democrat, you can be Republican, you can be conservative, you can be all of these things, but there's a fundamental issue with a person who has had damn near 50 years to become a citizen, has all of the access and money in the world and chooses not to, but then tells your children as they are reaching 18 how they should be voting and what they should be thinking like. That's dangerous. I talked about it. The baby. His comments on having HIV, I talked about it. I can understand when somebody feels like they are part of a marginalized group. As Black people, what do? We pull in the ranks. We defend. I get it. But a lot of the conversations, it's like if you are an Indira person, then you're seen as elitist and you're looking down. If you're a Carisha person, it's we're not a monolith and she can do what she wants. Got it. I heard it. But Carisha is not the only person that is getting the heat. What we have to look at is when other people get the heat because they should be getting the heat, why doesn't that get picked up? Why aren't more people talking about Drake and all the young girls he allegedly dates? Why are people outside? We're talking about Carisha and her standing ovation at the BET Awards and everybody singing the song. When NDRE is looking at that, I liken that to how I was looking at the Diddy supporters pouring baby oil on other Diddy supporters. Now, I can tell you for a fact that Armand just kind of got wrapped up in that. Armand is not a Diddy supporter. But there were a lot of people in the courtroom with me who pretended to just wannabe YouTubers, but they were actually just Diddy supporters, and they were outside chanting "Free Diddy." When Indira saw that, I'm absolutely sure she likened it to that. When we talk about other people who needed to get canceled but aren't in our community that we fight for, let's talk about where is it? R. Kelly. You literally had a group of moms so concerned with R. Kelly potentially going to jail that they had 50 children, t-shirts made, and had their children at the courthouse to ensure that R. Kelly had support, to see that the media saw that kids supported R. Kelly. When we talk about misogyny, I got my ass tore up talking about Boosie because we, as a community, agree with Boosie. See, the community at large believes that if Boosie can see a pathway for the quote-unquote gay agenda where they are pushing gay themes to children, then your children will automatically be gay. Boosie and his people are so transfixed on kids being gay, and the media, songs, imagery will make your child gay or a transsexual or a drag queen or whatever, or non-binary or whatever the pronouns are. And people sit and say, oh, I see the correlation. But they don't see the correlation between Carisha saying, I'm a whore. I'm not a hoe. I'm a whore who gets pissed on. And then that gets trickled down to when I get pissed on, I can get a Chanel bag. People don't see the correlation. I got my ass handed to me, not by y'all, because you guys kind of get it, or even if you don't agree with me, we have conversations about it. But in reality, Boosie's not getting canceled. On this interview with Jason Lee, if you could see the comments about what a great father Boosie is and how Boosie is uncancelable, he's unable to be canceled. Well, I told you guys. Well, and he actually had a little bit of media training because when he was talking to Jason Lee, he said at age 16, 17, he got a older female prostitute to engage with his son. when in actuality, when he actually said it, it was his son and his nephews were 12 and 13 when he got some nasty ass. I have respect for sex workers. I don't have respect for anybody who messes with a child. So you're going to hear me say some things that aren't kosher, and I don't care. You got a nasty ass hoe to suck off. And I'm not going to be able to monetize this video more than likely anyway. So thank you guys for the ones who are super chatting. I appreciate it. But you got a nasty ass hoe to molest your children, and you did it where you can see it, meaning you had access to watch them get molested. And Boosie's fan base has decided that that's okay. And he's just counteracting the gay agenda, which is using media to push these themes on him. So if you agree with Boosie and the gay agenda, and you can't see a correlation between Carisha promoting sex work and and scamming and boosting, then we really can't have a conversation. But this is not one of these blow smoke up your ass kind of conversations. I will say that access does influence people. There may not be a quote unquote agenda by Carisha to promote boosting and scamming, but I will argue tooth and nail that it's influence. It's influence. Let me see, where do I want to start, because this is probably going to end up being multiple videos. Okay, let's get a little deep and let's get a little personal. I've heard some of my favorite content creators going back and forth about this subject. One of them being like Brandy the Millennial. I really like her. And then there's another girl who I think she's like working on her PhD. She's very pro-black, and she made the comment that if we leave anyone behind, then we're just as bad as them. Basically, if you are a person who might have worked your way out of the hood, if you leave anyone, in her terms, YN, which is young nigga, behind, or any scammer or booster, you're part of the problem. So I listened to her. Then I listened to a lot of people argue about we're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. And I'm like, everybody says we're not a monolith as it pertains to people who are maybe on Zeus Network, Suki with the good coochie. I'm not here to parent your children. I almost feel like a white person who wanted to hurt our community trickled that word into it so that anybody could do anything, and we just say we're not a monolith. The problem that I have with that is anytime anything happens, all of these PhD level people speak in a monolithic term in a monolithic way as it pertains to people committing crime in these communities. And I'm like, wait, so we're not a monolith, but now every time somebody does something, we speak in absolute terms. We speak as in every fucking booster is a product of a socioeconomic issue that they had. And that's not the case. That's not the case. So that's why I was like having a conversation with my family about like what I could actually say. I'm from the hood. Carisha and them, I believe, are from Opelika. I'm from Louisiana, but my town is not just any town in Louisiana. My town was actually, we made the national news for per capita drug dealers. I'm the product of having, I don't know, I think like just about everybody around me. Drugs. My brother, my actual blood brother, just got out of Angola. I'm not speaking from a person who is so far removed from anything that I haven't seen it. I've been robbed at gunpoint twice. there's been an attempted carjacking. When I was on my way to Iraq, some niggas saw me leave my mom's house with my luggage. So by the time I got to Dubai, which was the drop-off point to get to Iraq, I was getting a phone call from my mom. And I'm like, well, damn, you knew when I got here. No, we need to know exactly what was in your bedroom because we've been robbed. What? Huh? I'm pro-black till the day I die. But it's a short-sighted conversation if I don't acknowledge that all of the gun violence that I've seen have been at the hands of the people that I try my best to uplift. That's a real issue. Everybody wants to talk about the front-facing problems. And the front-facing problems are always going to be, you come from the hood, you learn to hustle. That is true. But we never have the conversation about what the other side looks like. For every time we're talking prison reform, we're not talking about a mom like mine who flees a drug-infested small city in Louisiana to give her kids a better life. We're going to get really personal. I don't really care. When I moved to the big city, I might have been like, what, 5, 6 years old. We didn't have shit. We had a black woman who said to my sister, I know it's bad. You guys can come. You can tell your mom that you can bring your little brother and your little sister here. That woman had a 1-bedroom apartment. That's where we stayed. But by the time that we got our own place, I think my sister had bought my mom a coat and somebody robbed her of her fucking coat. So in Louisiana, I'm around drug dealers. In Louisiana, you know, I'm around a lot of people who do drugs. I'm around people who sell drugs. I am a product of the hood. I'm a product of a mother who understood that we weren't going to be able to progress if we did not leave. And we did not have a savings account, didn't have dads who were going to help us. Nobody talks about the other side. Nobody talks about the fact that my grandmother couldn't sleep. She lived her whole life, did everything for everybody, church, did everything right. And it wasn't YNs, the little niggas who were selling drugs on her block took up the whole block. The boosters, the scammers, the drug dealers, the murderers. My grandmother lived as long as she did because she walked everywhere that she went. And then she had to move with us, and that stifled her. So for my grandmother to have to call and say, I can't do this anymore. I'm sleeping on the floor because these motherfuckers are shooting. And this is what we really promote. I think everybody just naturally assumes I'm from some pedigree when I've said it from the rooftops. I'm the most liberal person, but I listen to people. I didn't realize initially that that was my gift. I listen to people. I have conversations with people that the average person wouldn't. So that's how I end up knowing everybody's business, because everybody tells me. And then somehow or another, I end up one degree of separation from people. But I've been around the Carishas. My grandmother did. She asked my mom if she could come to the big city with us. She did have to leave. There was no way she couldn't. There was no way she couldn't. But we don't talk about the grandmothers in Liberty City and Opelika who experience. We just talk about prison reform because there's no other way out. So everybody, it just gets progressively worse. We lose our sense of community altogether. And then our sense of community becomes, let's elevate Zeus Network because they're getting to the bag. We always had a hustle mentality, but now it is a getting to the bag mentality. I saw this video and it reminded me of what my grandmother went through. Not that she looks like my grandmother, but it reminded me of what my grandmother went through when she had to leave her home that she paid for, because the YNs that people are telling us we can't leave behind and who their prison reform is elevated above the grandmothers who are fleeing gun bullets. We never have the other side of the conversation. And I fully understand that there is a pathway to prison for young Black people. I fully understand that as a Black person, every time I've stopped by the fucking police, they ask me if it's my car. I get it. But we need to have a full conversation of what this looks like. And it ain't fucking rainbows and butterflies.
Ross has lived here for 43 years.
Tired of seeing the pushers dealing in the middle of the street. So much of profane language.
I think a big part of the conversation, because I haven't really been looking at the comments so much, is there used to be a balance. I'm the product of, being taken as a child to places that I should not have been. I'm the product of listening to this shit. I'm the kid who was rapping the 10 Crack Commandments. I'll tell you another story because I'm also, my mom is like very old school and she does not like stuff about a family getting out. But the reality of the situation is drugs were around me. I knew what drug dealers were. I was 5 years old. We were still living in Louisiana. And this guy who was dating my aunt gave me $100 and I'm 5. And where I'm from, the biggest thing that would happen, I guess maybe because I'm 5, but for me, the biggest thing would happen would be when we had the fair. And again, we didn't have any money. So we lived on the route that people would walk to get to the fair. So my mom sold sweet potato pies, coconut pies, to the people walking to the fair. And I remember going up to my mom and telling her I wanted to buy a pie because I'm 5 years old and I got money in my pocket. I don't know that I'd ever had $100 in my hand. And if I would have just shut up, I could have made it to the fair with my $100. But it's burning a hole in my pocket. And I asked her, I want to buy a pie. And she's like, well, you got some money? And yeah, I got some money. And it was $100. She beat the shit out of me when I told her I got it from Rob. And then she made me go and bring that back to Rob. Rob was a drug dealer. Rob was dating my aunt. And at 5 years old, I knew what a drug dealer was. Let that sink in. At 5 years old, I knew what a drug dealer was. It wasn't that my mom didn't protect me. It's around. So when I hear people say it's up to your parents, maybe I didn't turn out to be a drug dealer, but I definitely was desensitized. I saw everything from sex to the R word on television, access to adult videos. I think desensitized is the word. For everybody who always continues to say, mental fortitude, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. That's not the reality. They put crack in our communities. They didn't give us the needle. That's influence. They put crack in the community. They didn't give us the spoon. We gave us the formula, how to not lose money. It's not a Carisha problem. Carisha is the product of her environment, but she's also the product of her environment that pushes that to other people's children. That's the problem. It's not that she wants to sell coochie. Go for it. I've been very upfront and honest. I had to actually sit back and talk to people from my high school because I'm like, you do realize that some of the shit that we knew, we knew when people were, making babies, we knew where they would go after church because I went to a private school after church to conceive the babies. I knew about cocaine. I knew that my classmate's little brother went into his parents' private refrigerator in their wing of their house because they owned dental clinics and got out a bag of blow because he had seen it in some movie titled Blow and brought it to school. I knew about that. I knew about a guy named Gabriel who drove a Corvette. He was in 11th grade. I was in 9th grade. Gabriel was very upfront. Gabriel was a prostitute. Gabriel had 2 older white men that were like a couple who paid for his school, they paid for his Corvette, and you're like, well, a kid in 11th grade with a Corvette? No, these people at my school had M3s, Hummers. Their parents were like rich. Gabriel wasn't. Gabriel was a prostitute. So having conversations, it desensitizes you because it's just like, you just know Gabriel is sleeping with two old white men. That's how he got, like, everybody knew it wasn't a thing. Gabriel wasn't even my friend, but it was just, it was what it was. That's desensitized. So by the time I'm, 18, 19, and I'm going to stay at a thing for like runaways, I'm already honing my craft of talking to people to understand their story, but I'm completely desensitized to all of this shit going on around me. So if I'm desensitized and the public at large is desensitized because your president is a scammer and Young Miami's talking about scamming, and maybe your dad just, did a PPP loan, or your mom just got a what's it called purse, or your friend got a Corvette, and it's so crazy that Gabriel was a guy. Like, who, we just didn't know better. We were exposed to it. We just didn't know better. So how can I say honestly that Carisha is at fault for this? She's not. How can I continue to talk about Drake influencing kids, Lil Wayne influencing kids with Lean and Scissor, all the niggas that from the 90s who talked about Lean? By the time it got to Lil Wayne, it became a global thing because Wayne was global. All of those dudes from Texas are dead. Every single one of them had heart issues and died, and Lil Wayne almost died in 2013. Us choosing not to report on that or talk about it is on us. It's not just I don't know. It's an us thing. We learn to protect our own, but sometimes it's at our own detriment. This is not a Carisha thing, but we're not going to pretend that Carisha does not have influence. As crazy as that sounds, how many people were saying period?
Period. 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 Period.
How many people were talking about getting flued out? I was talking to my sister about that earlier, and I'm like, you do know I used to talk about wanting to get flued out. And the funny thing was people started thinking like, well, am I a whore? Am I a hooker? And it was just like, it's just a joke, but it's not just a joke because it becomes a way of life.
Truth. I'm trying to think of like what the youth say, like when something's true. Oh, period.
You got little white girls from London saying period. It becomes part of the culture. It's not a Carisha thing, but I will fall on my sword when it comes to Carisha purposefully influencing children through TikTok, through using her own children. Let me see.
Want to be around, connected to like rich men, and like, oh, I want a rich nigga, I want a rich nigga, I want a rich nigga. A lot of the talk, pussy, like bringing back just saying the craziest shit in your raps and getting on for that. People went, who named somebody who was saying the craziest shit in their raps?
But I think now people doing it, but when y'all
I think when that tweet came out, I think people were taking, when you said direction, I think it was a lot of people thought like y'all was saying y'all started it. That's why I said, well, I let them clarify what direction needs, because when I heard that.
Thank you, Teaston, for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Paula says, be better, have my money, came out in college. I play it for my mom because it was brand new. She turned into The Exorcist and said, get that shit off my stereo. Ella, I'm still laughing. I was 21. Paula, I'm telling you, I started this video talking about Little Kim sucking blood out too short. I didn't know what that was. I had no point of reference to what it meant to suck blood out of, and I don't know what that is, but I knew what it was. I knew there was a progression. It went from don't ever say tell a girl to suck your D to sucking D became like a prerequisite for sex. If you told a girl to suck your D in the early 90s, you might get punched. Then it became a prerequisite. You got the Uncle Lukes, you got all these people promoting, fighting censorship, so pushing the limits. Then by the time Emil was talking about put your pee on my mustache, it opened the door to eating that. I think maybe around 2014, 2015, everything became about eating groceries. And we're going to talk about this yuck mouth ass, gator face looking ass motherfucker, Trick Daddy, in a minute. Sorry for the language, but it's not that kind of night, and I ain't getting monetized anyway. There's a progression, and as the internet progressed and the speed that we could access information progressed, you can make a correlation to how much harder it was to censor things. And if nothing is censored, if everybody can steal, the society is lost. And I'm a liberal person. That's the crazy part. I'm liberal. I'm sex positive. I'm for adults doing adult things that adults want to do. I just take umbrage when children are put at risk. Franny Mama, thank you so much for becoming a member. Thanks for sharing your story. Paula, it's hard because my mom is old school. They would rather keep everything internal than have it, put out there for people. But the reality is the reality. And, she did try her best. I've been very upfront with you guys. I was exposed to a lot way too soon. But, I think we all have a story. Thanks for being a member for 19 months. Thank you for joining the membership. Another problem, we hold women accountable, but allow men to keep doing bull, and even worse, will defend his bull instead of accountability. Yes. We started this conversation off with, this is rooted in misogyny. It is. The fact that you can murder somebody and have more street cred, it's a problem. I had a conversation with Gabor, and I was like, thank you. I might have to do panels on this where I open it up to dads, moms, drug dealers, sex workers, whatever. But he said something and I was like, I never thought of it like this. Young Miami probably thought that she would be considered a ride or die bitch for holding Diddy down. The fact that she got a billionaire and she's a girl from the projects was probably street cred that we could never understand. Especially Miami. Miami got their own shit. I've been having a lot of conversations with Miami people that are like, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. It's Miami. But she probably thought that she was going to be viewed as a down-ass bitch for holding Diddy down. That's probably what was in her head. However, the problem is the billionaire that you got with is associated with gayness. We will uplift every nigga from Power, BMF. If you from Oak Balaka or Miami, Ricky, what's his name? Ricky, it's like Carisha's last name. What's Carisha's last name, y'all? Let's see, Ricky from Oak Balaka. What is Carisha's last name? Ricky Brownlee. Now, I don't know if Ricky Brownlee has any relationship to Carisha, but he was basically the unofficial mayor of Opalaka. He was a major drug dealer. Her name is Brownlee. He ran that area. I could not make a link, just to be honest with you. But she probably thought, I'm going to be a ride or die, just like Young Thug's baby mama, or not baby mama, but girlfriend. All of these other people who hold them down through whatever bid they're doing for drugs, murder. Your nigga was gay or is associated with gayness. So you are now a joke along with him. That's probably why she was so shocked when the hood didn't have her back. It's because Diddy is associated with gayness. Boosie could do whatever he wants to a young boy to ensure he's not gay with the whole molestation thing. He can go to jail. And y'all can say what you want about Boosie. When I looked at the court case, it looked like the person took the fall for him in his murder shit. But that's just my opinion. Y'all love it. Not y'all, but people love it. But you messed around and got with a cuckold. You messed around with a dude who was looking for big penis to go inside his girlfriend and all of that. And that's why, Carisha, you're not being looked at as a ride or die. That's why you're a joke in the community. Worry about yourself. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you. We're going to get into Marlo probably like in a later conversation. I want to get into the mindset of Carisha.
For real, I never got peed on. My mama cussed me the fuck out about that.
She
I was like,
good,
really?
good mama Miami.
Good mama Miami.
She was like, for real. I was like, damn, I gotta stop really saying shit like that. For real.
Why was she mad though?
Because she was just like, Carisha, for real, you be taking it too far. Like, and sometimes I do be taking it too far, but like, girl, I gotta sell these cards and I gotta.
You ain't got to tell me. Welcome to our world.
Could you imagine the people at the church calling Mama Miami? So I just seen this video.
No, that's right. That was embarrassing because like people always go back to my grandma shit too. She work at a nursing home, so she always be like Carisha, and it's like for real, y'all. Then you gotta stop showing my grandma that shit at work. She ain't got on social media. She don't know what's going on. Stop going to my grandma with that.
They went to your grandma?
Yeah.
So basically, you are a self-proclaimed whore, a real-ass whore by your own definition. You're a city girl. You promote that to children. You promote that lifestyle to children. But then we find out that it was a lie. It was a marketing strategy. How does that work?
Real asshole tweet. I was like, oh shit.
See, that was good marketing.
Yeah, that was good marketing. I said it.
That was good. It got a lot of people talking.
And I didn't.
So you're scamming people because it's not the life you live, and you don't want your daughter to go that route. No, you'll use your daughter to promote your product on TikTok so that other moms can see it, kids do it. The main person who did her TikTok dance is doing it in a room full of kids. But you're saying that for all of these other kids that you promote scamming to, for all of these other little girls that you promote, you know, sorry, but selling pussy to, it is what it is. When you promote this, then you say, well, not my daughter. I'm not in those spaces anymore, but I push that narrative. That's why Jay-Z can't really effectively rap about drug dealing anymore, because he didn't stop until like 93 when he finally got his deal. He can't. It's so insane that there is a cutoff point for rappers for what we were just talking about. You can be a rapper, and at a certain point, you're too old to rap because what you are rapping about is murder, drugs, and belittling women. It's insane. And just to, get into a little bit of mess, I defended 50 Cent's baby mama, Daphne Joy. Before the sex tape was released, somebody had said something about Daphne Joy, and I went and I looked at her page, and she had feet pictures on there. If you don't know, you can make a lot of money with feet pictures. And then the next day, the tape is released. So it made me think, okay, she released the tape. I rarely say this as it pertains to the Diddy trial and victims, but fuck you, Daphne Joy, for staunchly making us feel like we could not say your name because you were truthfully a victim in that, only to find out that you were the whore that the actual court case said. You really were that person. I can remember going so hard on Academics because Academics had somebody in the courtroom, and as soon as that person left, he came out and broke all the rules and talked about Daphne Joy. And I said, wow, that woman is a victim. For you to go and solicit money and sex from fucking DJ Academics, this mouse looking ass mother, what are you doing? And then somebody told me to look up this nigga. This is who Daphne Joy was dating before Diddy and before 50 Cent. So when I saw this, I said, oh, I get it. Because you know what I respect? I respect a person who lives whatever life they want, but what they don't do is glorify the shit. Daphne Joy, you have no morals and scruples. You were basically sleeping with Count Chocula. Not only is this man disgusting, not only does he probably nut condensed milk, powdered milk, he actually had a conversation, because he has his own version of Epstein Island, with black women, telling them he would pay them for their stem cells. This is a nasty, disgusting bag of bones. I don't know what you want to call him. But this is who Daphne Joy was dating. I was disgusted at all of us who took basically our licks for defending her as a victim, only for you to go out and be with DJ Academics. Let's get into some mess.
NDRE, sometimes it is time for I Am Not My Hair. Sometimes it is time for that. But sometimes it's also time to spin that shit.
Upset me.
Y'all had done told NDRE up so bad. She had to come back on here and say, I didn't even mean it like that. NDRE, I know you've been rich for a while, but some of us still gotta go put some stuff in our bag at the self-checkout. Not me all the time, but not me though. And the real freedom is being able to express yourself at whatever stage you are in your life. I ain't never found nothing wrong with spinning that shit. You know NDRE something?
Yeah. To NDRE, I don't think there's anything wrong with what she said. I've heard so many dissertations about her being a hating ass bitch. She's ugly. I heard the same things about the woman who was integral in the Me Too movement, because they were like, she's so ugly, her nose, her face. Why would anybody R-word her? That's what we're dealing with. This is the level of mental awareness that we're dealing with. That a woman that you don't deem as sexually appealing could not be R-worded. NDRE is not wrong for talking about something that's in her wheelhouse. She has a point of reference to something that impacts her. It doesn't impact her artistry per se, but it's like you have an issue with the work somebody else does at your job. And I'm sitting there listening to people go in on NDRE because she had an opinion that's different than yours. And I'm like, well, one DJ actually said, I don't know what channel, he works with that lady with like the really annoying voice, L'Oreal. And he was basically saying that NDRE should have shut up as a comedian. He won't ever say anything about another comedian. And I'm like, this is the misogyny that people be talking about. Why can't your coworker say that they don't like your fucking work? It's okay. It's your coworker. But we relished in Cat Williams destroying Steve Harvey, the Wayans brothers, Monique going in on everybody about every joke they stole. We relished that. We relished Kendrick and Drake's beef. We liked it when it was Biggie and Tupac. We pushed Ja Rule and 50 Cent. So there is misogyny when it comes to a woman speaking up, but let this and Carisha be a catalyst to have those conversations. There's nothing wrong with her coming out and saying that she didn't say boycott it. she looked at everybody at the BET Awards standing up and she was disappointed, and she can be. I didn't say certain shit around my grandma. As liberal as I am, I did not say a lot around my grandma. NDRE is, an older lady. She's been around for a while, and she might not want to spin that shit. She may never have gotten flued out. She may not think that shit's funny. It's okay that she doesn't. She's not telling you not to do it. When I had a conversation with Really B and her friend, they were basically saying the video that I wanted to do sound like censorship, and I'm like, I never said that. Talk about the things that I said. I don't think that Young Miami should be censored, but I do feel like Young Miami, who is now signed to Up Down Records, which is affiliated with Diddy, and has a song called Spin That sounds a lot like Take That. I think that she is going to be a soft landing for Diddy when he gets out. I see Diddy all over that. And a lot of people don't see an issue with Diddy. So it is what it is. I'm just saying that for me, I can see correlations and connections. I see Diddy helping her with that, helping her get onto a new record label. We all know that you can buy streams. We all know that you can influence people through TikTok. All of those things came, and she has a catchy song. It's a catchy hook. It's a catchy, it's not lyrically, she's not gonna, win a cipher or anything like that. But the point being, people like the song. Telling somebody to boycott something is only gonna push them to it. But not having conversations about songs being influential is a short-sighted conversation. I can't stress that enough. The facts are Black people are 10%, 11% of the population of America, but we are 26, 27% of the people who get arrested for stealing, white people being 59%. I think they're close to like 50% of the population, but I'm just going to talk about Black people. I know white people steal. I know white people get food stamps. I know all of these things. We can't be 10, 11% of the population, be 26, 27% of the percent of people who get picked up for stealing, and not have a conversation about what that looks like when we're talking about our scamming ass niggas and boosting ass bitches. They got on me on my friend Really B's channel because they felt like I was censoring Carisha. They got on me on Really B's channel about misogyny. And I'm like, let's talk about what this really looks like when you are using a song to elicit emotion or reaction. Woodstock, 1999, white people, Limp Bizkit, they had a song called Break Something. They played the song. The reaction from those kids was to break something and burn Woodstock down. Let me see if I can get you some pictures. Everybody could be like, I would never do it, but it happened. Let me see if I can.
It started with 3 bonfires and quickly got out of control, including 2 state troopers who were
Woodstock burned because of a song that was playing. It happens. Do you know how many people felt empowered with Fuck the Police? NWA's song became an anthem during the riots and again during George Floyd. So if songs can elicit emotions, songs can elicit reactions, songs can empower you to, stand up to systems that are in place to keep you marginalized and down, then why the hell can't a song influence you to boost a Goyard bag? Steal some water. I'm so confused. Why does everything have to be so cut and dry? Why can't you say you like the song? Why can't you say you're from that area and you understand that it brings you some closeness to Carisha because you understand that she's from the same kind of hood as you? Got it. But we can also have a conversation about the influencers. All of us having these conversations are influencers. We didn't start this shit. We didn't create the internet. What we did was we saw people. I was influenced by Funky Dineva, Michelle Alien, Tasha K, all of those people. I saw them. The Queen Supreme Court. I saw all these people doing this. I was influenced as an adult to get into this space. All of these content creators are influenced. We just get into these spaces where because we believe something or we like something, we can't see another side of it. And the reality is, as a society, you had people who made adult videos as a fringe. It was not society. And then what happens? People like me, desensitized. It opens the door to OnlyFans, which rebrands the porn industry. And now you have kids who are waiting because their favorite influencer said, I was in the top 1%, Cardi B. I was in the top 1%, Blueface. I then made millions of dollars, Black China. I then made millions of dollars, Bad Baby, who basically sold her vagina as soon as she turned 18 to men who were giving her $100,000, $200,000 for videos. That's where we're at. That's due to influence. That's due to a change in the ability to access information, media, and pictures of your vagina or penis. We now don't see that as anything because we as a society have rebranded porn stars. This isn't all on Carisha. DB, if she slept with Peter, she's gross. I know a person's stories about him and they are horrible. Oh, she did. That was the first. That was before 50 Cent. Daphne Joy was sleeping with this man. And we're over here defending her. We're over here defending R. Kelly. We have a whole song where R. Kelly, a pedophile, is sleeping with an underage impressionable girl and making her sing lyrics that suggest that her being underage is okay. And people say, well, I'm not influenced by that. I did a video on Bravo the other day, and this guy who is neighbors with a cast member named Angela used that same verbiage as he was talking about his very young wife that he met as an Uber Eats driver. Age ain't nothing but a number. We ain't checking IDs over here. It seeps into the psyche. It doesn't mean that, you are going to be the person or your child is going to be the person who, falls victim to a life of crime or drugs, but there are a lot of us who do. I can't tell you how many of my friends are dead. Didn't mean that they were dumb. Didn't mean that they were stupid or their parents didn't try. Some of them just drank and drive. Some of them did drugs and drove. I'm not even... Was 12 Play about a 12-year-old? I'm not telling you not to listen to R. Kelly. That as an adult, you have every right to do whatever you want. It's not just black music. If we're talking about influence, rock music, the B-side of this... When I was in high school, I had a Hispanic homeboy whose mom basically gave us access to her Wild Turkey and Everclear. And there was a song that she used to listen to all the time that it became a song I liked called Hotel California. And if you listen to the B-side of that song, it's satanic ritual. So it's not just black people and black music that you can have conversations about influence. But the conversations need to get had. It's not just a black cultural thing is the point that I'm making. We're gonna have to have more conversations about this. We didn't get through a lot of this video. maybe I'll do a couple videos, one with the one where you guys can talk, another one with like maybe Simone and Sean, who are going to be the people who are I'm doing a podcast with. It's not a simple one note kind of conversation, and it's not all Carisha's fault, but she does market this to children. What's up, Princess? Princess says, as an engineer, certain frequencies in music are meant to influence. We're gonna have a conversation about Jay-Z and Beyonce. I can't tonight, but definitely we'll do a panel. I don't usually go on this late. I appreciate you guys for being here. It's a bigger conversation. I'm not saying cancel the dating, but we'll have more conversations. So I will see you guys hopefully before the end of this weekend for another video. If not, I hope you enjoyed the 4th with your family. If you're not in America, enjoy the 4th anyway. Be safe. We didn't even get into the parents conversation. I want to play this before we go. I think that the average parent does care, and I think the average parent does cry. And the most powerful conversation happened on Bravo about shoplifting, actually. Just a reminder.
My kids are not at Walmart shoplifting,
my
honey.
kid ain't at Walmart either, sweetie. And don't let
And then Nini's response.
not a reflection of me. He is a grown adult. He is 22 years old. And whatever he does is on him. It's not on me. I raised him to do the right thing. Did you raise your kids to do the right thing? So if your child goes out and make a mistake, that's your fault?
No, everybody makes mistakes.
That's your fault?
Everybody makes mistakes.
Okay, so
there's nothing wrong with
Don't
making
try to
a
come there
mistake.
with that.
No,
Me being rich, there's plenty of celebrity kids who are out here on drugs, who are stealing, who got DUIs. Is that a reflection of who they are? I'm sure they've all taught their children to not drink and drive, to not walk in the store and steal.
Are you sure?
I'm sure they have. Because what parent would have a child and not want their child to do the very best and be the very best? I'm no different than you, bitch. Don't you ever talk about my kids, okay?
I just like when she says, I'm no different than you, bitch. Y'all have a good night.